Hey, what is going on, everybody? My name is Digital Chaser, and today we're going to implement a VR button so we can press it and release it. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click, create a new folder, and call this button. And then we're going to double click on the button file, and I have a link below that's going to direct you to the button where you can download it. It's a free asset. Going to drag in our button, import all. Now let's go enter the map. So we're going to go into virtual BP, blueprints, go to motion controller. Oh, you have to save. You have to save, then click save all, and now we're here in the map. So here in content, right click, folder, and call this blue. Now let's open up our blueprints folder, and let's now that we got our blueprints folder, let's double click on it. Right click, blueprint class, and let's go to our actor. Now let's type in BP underscore button. This will be the button of the thing. Probably spelled that wrong. Yes, I did. Oh, my bad. Got our button. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open up our little filters thing here. We're going to go to where we implement the button asset, which is under content. And I think we put it in the button. Here it is. So what I'm going to do is we're going to open up the blueprint folder. After we have the blueprint folder up, let's size it just a little bit so where we can get our default. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to here, button, control click both of these and drag it on the scene. Now I just renamed one of these, but you can rename and do whatever you want. Now let's compile this and save this, because now we got two of our objects. That's the button. So basically what we're wanting to do with this is when the hand interacts with this button, it presses down. And when it presses down, it activates either a door or a certain object or something in the game. So let's get started. So to get started, you want to go to your event graph, and then let's get rid of all this because we're going to start fresh, and let's compile this and save. So then now what we want to do is we want to go to a VR button. This is going to be the button of what we just imported. We want to scroll all the way down to event. We want on component begin overlap. So now we want to cast to the motion controller. So let's grab our other actors and let's cast to BP underscore motion controller. This just makes it so where we're sure that we're interacting with the hand object. So let's keep going forward. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here to cast motion controller. As BP motion controller, we want to right click, promote to variable. We're going to call this variable to motion controller. Okay, now we got a variable. Oops, sorry about that right there. I didn't mean to do that. We want to hold on. We want to remove this, and we want to get motion controller. Get motion controller. Now what we're going to do with this is we're going to right click, promote to variable. Sorry about what I just did. Now we're going to track. Sorry about my slow typing. I'm a little slow on typing sometimes. MC. And then let's remove the ref to MC. Okay, compile and save. Then now let's add this into cast to motion controller right here. And now let's compile and save again. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add another variable, and it's going to be BLS tracking. Okay. And we're going to add this into our set tracking. Basically just sets another tracking, make sure if it's enabled or disabled. So then now what we're going to do is we're going to set it to true. If it's not marked, then it is not true, but we're going to make it true. So now it's true. Okay, compile and save. So then there's certain different things we want to do, and one thing we want to do is we want to get the motion controller, drag off of it, and get world location. Okay. Also, we're going to right click, promote to variable, and the variable is going to be MC space integration. Location. Okay. Yeah, that's the variable name. Alrighty. And then now we're going to set it into the BLS tracking that is set to true. So we also want to do the same thing, but with the button variable. So let's get the button variable. Now let's get world location. Location. And then we're actually going to promote this to a variable. So after you promote it to a variable, it's called button enter location. So now, and then after this is done, now we got this variable. We're just going to tidy this up a little bit and plug it, that variable we got here. Compile and save. So now we basically got all the basics. So how do we track the button from the hand? Well, we get an event tick. An event. My bad. I spell event always wrong. Event tick. Okay. First of all, we make sure we are tracking. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag off this and put a branch. So if it is true or if it is not true, this will fix it up, you know. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do is BLS is tracking. That's what it stands for, is tracking. So let's compile this and save. So now what we want to do is we want to take the current position and we want to grab our tracking MC and get world location. So then we want to subtract the world location that is tracking the motion controller. So we want to subtract it, and it's vector subtracted by vector. Okay. So then we're going to grab our motion controller location and drag it in here. Basically, this right here represents a displacement of the motion controller. So the button can only move on a certain axis, and that is the up and down a vector. So let's compile this and save it. And so knowing that, what we want to do is we want to drag out our VR button. So we're going to grab our VR button and get it. Now we're going to drag off and get up vector. Basically, we're getting the VR buttons up vector right here. Okay. So we're going to use a very handy node. So we're going to do projectile, and I'm spelling wrong. Projectile, vector, projectile vector. If I can find it, projectile vector on vector. I spelled that wrong. So here it is. So it is a vector, and it is projectile vector on vector. So it's this one right here. Okay. So what we're doing is we're projectiling the placement of the hand. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag this variable into the projectile vector on to vector. So I mean vector is going on, but you know. So then now let's get the length. So let's drag off the projectile variable and let's do length. And then let's do vector length. Okay, because we want the length of the displacement. And this is just making sure that it goes in one direction. So put in ABS, and that stands for float. So then we clamp this with a float. So let's do clamp with a float. So it's this one right here. Okay. So this is where the point where we work on the button of where it goes in. So let's compile this and save, and let's go over here and let's set this to size 1. Now let's figure out where we want our button to fall. So I say right around 6. So let's see. Let's say 6%, not -6. That's pretty good. So what we're gonna do is we're going to just reset that button size, compile and save. And now let's just do the max to 6. So basically what I did is I made it to where it's 6.0. I've actually got my button on pause to 0, so sorry about that. I need to fix that. So now what we're going to do is we are going to promote this to a variable. So let's right click, promote to variable, and let's call it maximum travel. This is going to be the travel of the button. So it'll be like the how far down it goes and so forth. Now we got the maximum travel. Also, we are going to promote this to a variable. So promote to variable, and then let's promote it to a current travel. So it's the current travel of the button. Okay, now we got current travel. So let's compile and save. So what we do with this variable that we just created, I'm just going to drag it down. And this branch here that we just created a while back with the event tick, we're just going to make it a true, set it in true. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set the button. Rotate this where it lines up here. Ah, dang. Give me 1 second. Let's fix this. I'll fix it again. That mess up? Hopefully not. Okay, well anyways, we want to get the button and we want to set it to where it tracks our hand. So then we want to get upper vector, compile and save. Now we're going to multiply this vector, and it is a times, and the times is going to be vector plus float. Then we're going to multiply this by the current travel. Okay, compile and save. Also, if you did the same mistake as I did here, it shouldn't really matter. The button should still functional work. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get the button integration, whatever mess, and we're going to drag off of it, and we're going to do minus, and we want the vector minus vector. Okay, then we're just going to drag this on down and drag it into here. Okay, just tie it up a little bit, and let's compile this and save it. So now we basically have the new location of the button. and the workspace. Now let's drag off the VR button and let's do set world location. Okay, so we got our set world location. And then let's simply just plug the node into here. And if you want to clean up a little bit, we're just going to double click this line and drag it down so where it's a little bit cleaner, a little bit nicer. It makes your graph look a little bit better. So then we set the world location to this one. Now I'm just going to tighten up just a little bit. Double clicking, dragging it down. Or just tighten it up a little bit, and we'll compile, save. So we are going to promote this right here to a variable. So we're going to right click, promote to variable, and the variable name is going to be button, B-U-T-T-E-N, and condition. I think that's what he said. I can't remember really. Location. Location. Sorry if I misspell. Okay. So now we're just going to compile and save. So basically, it's good to have this where we can set the local location and the connect whatever mess. But anyways, we got this. So let's compile this and save. This will basically put the button back in the initial state. Okay. So let's go furthermore on. So now if we compile this and save it, we should be able to now just give this a try. So I'm just going to, we are going to go to blueprints, and here is the blueprint that we created. Just gonna drag it right here into the scene. That looks good. So now let's hop into VR. Okay, now we're hopping into VR. I want to still use the mic that is using now. Okay, so if we hop into VR, well, let me pause the VR. Let me pause the. Give me 1 minute, guys. My player is not found. Okay, now let's retry this again. So if we come over here, press the button down. As you can see, there is a little bit of a glitch going on with the button. So now we can fix that. So now let's hop out of VR and let's fix that. So I just fixed it up a little bit. So now there was a major glitch with the button. So now if we try, it was just a simple fix. The only thing it was that the fact that we had these two was like a mesh together. But now if we click play and we try it out in VR, we should be able to press the button. Give me a minute. I'm trying to get right next to it. Press the button, but the one bad part about clicking the button is your hand follows the button. So now let's fix that. Shouldn't be hard to fix, which I can show you how to actually fix this. So we're going to launch the blueprint back up. And the reason why it would not stop tracking is because in the blueprint we have not made a stop tracking. So let's do that now. So right here at the world location, add a branch. So basically if it's true or false, it will be negative or false. That makes sense? I'm trying to pronounce this the way best I can. I'm not really good at doing Unreal videos, but I figured why not give it a shot. But if the button is fully pressed, the current travel is equal to equals to float plus float equal to float and branch, and then the maximum travel is the current value of. See, then we'll stop tracking. Compile and save. So now what we're going to do is we are going to create a custom event for the blueprint. So let's do custom. Let's see, custom event. Okay, and then let's name it. Let's name it fully pressed. pressed. Fully pressed, because that is an event that if you fully press it, it activates a door or whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the button glow. So let's compile this and save it. And then let's go back to the motion controller map. And let's go to the button. Let's double tap here on the button. Okay, so now we're here in the button. So now we just need to drag out of this. Type in our multiply. Now basically what we're doing is we're making the button glow. Connect it here because this is the emissive color. Which, as you can see, it's starting to glow a little bit. And that's good. That's what we want. So the B is going to be promoted to a parameter. I can't really say that word correctly, but whatever. And I did not mean to do that. My bad. Want to rename this to glow if I can. Okay. We want to rename this to glow because this is now going to be the glow part. B is the glow, A is the color. Okay. We'll give the default value of 1. That's just telling it that the default value is 1, and that's pretty glowy, as you can tell from looking at it in here. Now let's save it and click apply. Now let's go back to the button blueprint. And then let's come up here a little bit and let's do begin play. In play. Event begin play. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get our button, come off of it and put dynamic material instance, whatever, I can't really pronounce it because all these big fancy words. And then let's take our event play and let's drag it into the dynamic create whatever mess we just put into the game. And then we are going to use the button material. Now we got our button material inserted, so let's compile and save. Keep the element in box index 0 because it's the only one we have. So now let's go back to the event tick that we created just a while ago, which is right here. And now we're just going to, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the true value of the branch. And we're going to do fully pressed, the event that we literally just created. So then now let's compile and save this. And then let's come up here to where our material is, which is way up here. Let's actually make it come down a little bit there, where it's down here. And then let's actually promote this to a variable. Let's call it material. ML stands for material short. Button. BUTTEN. So now we got a material button variable set. Now let's compile this and save, and then let's drag down to the fully pressed. Let's get our material button that we just created the variable for up here. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to drag off set scholar, promote to variable, the variable scholar, value of the scholar, put it into the event tick, the event, custom event that we've added, and let's compile and save. We'll call the parameter name glow GW. Okay. We will also set the value to, and then let's also promote this to a variable, and then let's rename it. Rename the variable to glow enter. Follow along with me, y'all. Something like that for glow interaction. Okay, let's compile and save. We have not really worked on the final thing, but now if we compile this and save and we click play, we should be able to now go into VR when we're here in VR, now we should be able to, now the thing should be able to change its color once the button is fully pressed. As you can see, it's functionally working. Now let's work on that glitch right there where the button goes under the app. So let's work on that next. So now we're going to stop the tracking. So let's hop back in here. So basically when the button is fully stopped tracking, we want, whenever the button is pressed, we want it to stop tracking. Okay, so let's work on that next. So now let's grab the BLS tracking and let's drop it into the variable that we just created with the fully pressed. This is the fully pressed, whenever the button's fully pressed, you know, it does the paint, and then this is where it goes furthermore on. Leave it to false. We also want to return to its initial state, so anyways, let's compile and save. So let's drag up a little bit, and on event tick, we're going to drag off the false, add another branch. So if, basically I do if the value is true. Short way of typing in is if. Also there's another command. So let's create a new variable and let's do is BLS, which stands for is returning. Do returning. Okay, returning. I'm just going to drag this up here a little bit, where it's like right here at branch that we just created, like this. And then let's drag in our is returning, and then let's set it to true. Set it to true. After we have set it to true, so basically now the button should be returning to its initial state. Let's compile and save. Basically now we're going to take the initial of the button. We got the button, and then let's take the location, current location, button as well. So then we're going to use a nice function called venter2. So venter V L. Not searching for me. Give me 1 second. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look up the action called venter. So we're going to drag off this, do VIN venter2. That's what we want. It's basically a vector. So now we got our vector 2. It's basically integration for vector. Basically from the current location, what we're going to do is we're going to click our Alt key and we're just going to swap these real fast. So this is the target, so add this to your target, and this is the location, which is the current location. Okay, so let's compile and save. So this is too long, so we can't grab from the event tick. So what we're going to do is we are going to drag off of delta time and get world delta second. Okay, file and save. It's basically the same thing as this event tick right here, which is this right here. So then this is going to be set to 2. So then now let's update the current location of the button. So let's grab our button location and let's set that into true. Like I'm running out of space. Let's actually, if you run out of space, you know what to do. Just grab it, drag it on down. Okay. Then now I'm just going to drag the return value to the button location. So now let's grab our VR button and then let's set world location. Okay. Drag it into this. And then the new location turns to this. Now let's add another branch. So let's do if it's true. Now let's get the current location of the button. Now for moving it back and forth, up and down, this would be our current location. If it's identical, so let's do double. and it's vector. Now let's grab the button inner location. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing this right, I don't really know. And then let's connect this into the current of the branch. Now the button is no longer turning, so we're going to set this to true. This is set to false. Basically, after the button's pressed, it does not track. And then if you repress it, it should go back to its initial state right here. So basically, it goes right back to the initial state, and then you press it again, and it does the same exact thing. So then now let's compile and save, and then let's actually click play. And then now if we actually click play, the button should function like a proper button. So let's hop over here and let's press it. Press it and press it and press it. You can keep pressing as long as you want. And there is no glitch so far with it. I do not see it tracking the hand, but there is a little glitch I do see, and it's that the button is still a little bit doing that. So let's see if we can fix that. Well, actually, there is really nothing to fix, just as long as if they press the button once, which normally you would press the button once, then the button goes back up. As you see, it's not changing the color, so we're going to fix that right now. But this is a fully functional button in Unreal Engine Editor. So now, let's hop and let's fix the color changing. So let's hop back into the blueprint. So basically now what we're going to do is we are going to take these two right here, duplicate them, and let's see, let's drag these two along. Let's put them up here. Let's put them right here. Then let's connect that. So basically once the button fully comes back up, it will reset its color, and I'll set the value to 1. Okay, and let's compile and save. So now here comes the fun part of the button. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the button. Now what we're going to do is we're going to end the overlap that we just did, which was up here. So now we're going to end it. Mainly the same thing, I believe. So let's try it now. What we want to do is we want to cast to VP motion controller, similar to the same thing. Okay, let's compile and save. So then now what we're going to do is we're going to come out of this, get our motion controller. I spelled that wrong. Motion controller. And let's go all the way down to the thing. I'm going to get the motion controller. So let's scroll all the way down. Get it. So it's going to be equal. So let's drag in our equals. And then let's grab tracking MC. Drag it in there. Let's compile and save. So if it is true, we're going to grab a branch. And we're going to connect the motion controller. And let's compile, save. And now it's going to stop tracking. Drag in this. Then let's trigger a return, and the return is going to be true. Set that defaults to BLS tracking. Return is true. Compile and save. And if y'all really enjoying this video, make sure you smash that like button. Basically, what we got is after it stops glowing, after it goes back to the return node where it stops, basically, once this gets up back where it needs to be, instead of being way down here, it will stop glowing. And then it would return back to the value it was. Okay? And now let's hop into VR and let's give this a shot. So, hop into VR. If we grab our two motion controllers, and we're here, closer, press the button, comes back up, it resets, press the button again, it resets, and you do it with the other hand, it all functions, and it's good, and it works. So y'all, if y'all really enjoyed this video, make sure you smash that like button, and I'm Digital. see y'all in the next one. If y'all really enjoyed this video, smash that like button. Stay frosty. Digital out.
And by the way, come in the next video so we can see me add it to a door.